Hello students, Miss Lockhart here. Today we are going to do these sections on our 7 elements of art drawing. I know a lot of you are at home and you may not have every one of those colors that you see on the middle part, the color wheel. Please do not worry. I have some tips and suggestions for you when we get there. All you need now is a pencil, eraser, and something straight like a ruler or folded piece of paper. I'll use a folded piece of paper. And I'm lining it up there right in the middle line on that right section. These are horizontal lines, so they're from the left to the right, and I'm skipping a little space, about an inch. Now if your space is smaller, you might want it to be a little bit bigger. Don't make it too much smaller than 1 inch. If it's way bigger than 1 inch, make it a little smaller, but it does not need to be exact. You want about 6 to 7 different sections here. So now I'm going to create those lines above now all the way up here. Inside this section, as you saw in the sample, we're going to have a color value scale, a gradient from dark to light. If you only have a pencil right now, if you're at home and you just don't have any color pencils, and if you don't have crayons or oil pastels, which are the other 2 things you can use for this part, you can use a regular number 2 pencil. You just need to adjust your pressure when you use it. So like I'm doing here, I'm using a harder pressure as I color, but not too hard to where I break the end of the pencil off. You can do the same thing with a regular number 2 pencil. The goal is to create a gradient. So this will be dark, the next layer will be a little lighter, and then so on. So by the time you get to the top triangle, it'll be about white, or just a very faint amount of that color you're using, or a very faint amount of the pencil that you're using. And watch how I do this. I always start a little lighter than I think it'll end up being, because it's easier to add color than it is to subtract. You can easily, well, you can kind of easily erase colored pencils. Sometimes it doesn't work so great. So that's why I like to start light. And I'm going to go over it a few times until I see that it's pretty close to the shade before it, but different. We need it to be lighter. So I'm happy with the one I just did, and now I'm going to do the next level here a little bit lighter. So I need to be careful about the pressure I'm using. I need to make sure my pressure stays light, and then slowly add more color over it, so that it gets a little bit darker. We do want it to be close to the shade before it, but not exact. And it needs to be a little lighter because we are creating that gradient from dark to light. Next level, a little lighter. Now you can pause this video as much as you would like, if you need. Okay, so this next level is a little lighter. I'm still going over it, but I'm being careful not to make it too dark. I don't know if you've noticed by now, but it's okay if you color outside of the lines a bit. Now I need to be really careful and really have a nice light pressure first on this level, and it's getting lighter and lighter. It gets a little bit easier because you don't have to color as much, but you do have to pay close attention to the pressure that you're using. Look at that. I just have a few lines in the triangles above, or in the sections above. I'm going to go over it a little bit more because I sure do like to make sure my color value has as many levels as I can get. So I want to see if I can stretch it out a little bit more and make things a little bit darker so that the triangles at the top have a little bit more color, because they have a lot of white, and I want to see if I can stretch it out a little bit more. And this also makes sure that my coloring is really nice and filled in if you go over it a second time. So you see I'm getting more steps here. I'm able to color these a little bit darker, and you'll see it'll carry on toward the top. Now gradients or value scales like this are very important to do and know about. They add dimension to a 2-dimensional drawing. They give it form, like we did last time. On our shapes, we created form and 3D shapes using color value and value. Dark usually represents shadow, and the light side represents light. A few other fun terms are tints and shades. Whenever your color is tinted, that means it's a light pastel version of your color where it has lots of white. And then when your color is a shade, that means it's dark with black added to it. Okay, cool. There we have our color value scale. Or maybe it's a grayscale because maybe you used a pencil, which is awesome. I'm just really trying to make this look even, and I want to see that gradient. I need to make sure it's nice and dark to light with steps between. Okay. All right, tidied up just a little bit with my eraser. Like I said before, you can always erase if it gets too dark. Now, I love color. You might have guessed, knowing that I'm an art teacher. And I want to add some color over here to our cool shapes. But first I want to do some erasing because there were some leftover pencil lines. And a lot of the time when you use a pencil or graphite, it smudges some. And so I'm going to erase some smudges. And I'm erasing that dark line that is on the right-hand side of my shapes. Notice that. The reason I'm erasing the dark line on the right is because the right side is the lightest step in our grayscale, and that is the side closest to the light source. So it doesn't really need a thick dark line, does it? I'm actually going to hold off on coloring these shapes. I'm going to go ahead and start dividing up the middle diamond. We need 12 spaces for all of our colors in that diamond. And so I'm going to show you how to divide it up to create 12 fairly even spaces. It's okay if it's not perfect. So you can grab your pencil, eraser, and straight edge, whether it's a ruler or a folded piece of paper, and get ready to follow along. Don't forget, you can pause the video whenever you need. Okay, I pretty much got my stuff together. I'm ready to show you. So we're going to divide this up first in quarters. How many parts is that? Does anyone know? First step is we're going to divide it into 4 parts. And I'm going to use my folded paper so I can show you that it's possible. I'm going to start with my horizontal line from the left to the right, or to the right to the left side of our diamond, and then now vertical from the top to the bottom or bottom to the top, whichever. Vertical line right down the center. And you see now we have 4 quarters. Well, you're about to see. There they are. Okay, now we need to divide those 4 quarters up so that we have 8 parts in our diamond. So I'm going to put a line here, a diagonal line from the left to the right, and notice I'm doing a little line in the middle first. It helps guide this giant X that we're drawing. There we go. That looks pretty even. And notice the X. It's a pretty nice looking X right there in the middle of the cross. Okay, so here's the tricky part. That's 8, not 12. Let me show you how to make 12 spaces. Follow along. Notice I'm doing little dashed lines here to help show you that I'm going to bring those lines to the center, and then it'll create 3 spaces inside that left quarter, that left top. I'm going to go ahead and give everyone a moment to catch up and finish their space they just divided up. You should have 8 spaces in your diamond, and it's about to be 12 spaces. All right, so I hope everybody's ready. We're gonna go ahead and start. Look there, how I'm just freehanding it without my straight edge to show you how we're gonna divide that up. It's two more diagonal lines, and here I'm gonna use a ruler now that I have a good sense of where I want them. And take a good look and see how this is gonna work. So I just made those two lines a little darker, and I'm gonna erase the middle line. That's the key. Now you'll understand how I did it. So I've erased the middle line, and I have 3 sections, 1, 2, 3, on the left. Watch again if you need any more advice. So I'm doing lines on either side of the middle line here, diagonal lines to divide up a 3rd space. And then, once I'm pretty happy, I'm going to use my straight edge to make it dark so that I know where my triangle shape is I just created, and I can erase the middle line right away, because if you forget that middle line, if you leave it there, you're going to be confused when we start our colors. So make sure you erase the middle line. Okay, so there we have it, 6 spaces on the top. We just did 3, so let's do the bottom half now. So I'm going to put my little dashes like I did before, and then connect them to the middle dot. And then what's next? That's right, erase the middle line to have 3 sections now. Let's repeat this step once more. I know it's a little confusing at first, but once you see me do it, it makes a little more sense. Now I'm going to make that line nice and straight with my straight edge. Okay, and erase the middle. So here we have it, almost as soon as I erase the middle. Please pause the video if you need some time to catch up. It does take some practice to divide it up like that. That in itself is art. Good job, everybody. Give yourselves a pat on the back. Okay, so you can see I have 12 spaces. Now before I even start to think about colors, and I'll talk to you about coloring this in just a moment, I need to label these spaces, these sections, with the name of the color I'm going to put there. And so do you. Make sure you have your pencil still ready, and we're going to label it together so we don't forget where each color goes. Okay, this first top section on the right here, look where I'm writing, red. Then next to it, red, orange. I wonder if you can keep guessing. Orange. Oh, don't forget, you can pause the video. Yellow, orange. So then we all know yellow is next. I wonder if you can guess what's next. Yellow, green. And then we have green next to it. Blue-green is next. Oops, gotta erase that. That's not a G. Okay, green, blue-green. In other words, turquoise. Blue. Blue-violet. Violet. And then the last but not least color, red-violet. So go ahead and pause the video if you need time to catch up writing all of that. And in the next video, I'll show you how to color.